Hello everyone, so today I'm going to be showing you one of our permaculture plants here, the Tithonia diversifolia, or Mexican sunflower. They also call it Japanese sunflower or tree marigold, which personally I find that to be a kind of cool name. So one of the main uses with this plant that people typically use in the permaculture world is using it as a chop and drop for fertilizer. So this one is very nutritious, so people will typically chop the thing down, maybe grind it up into a mulch, or even just take the branches and throw them below their other plants to give those other plants some nutrients. People equate it to being as good as a fish fertilizer even, so that just goes to show how nutritious this one is. But yeah, using it for extra biomass and fertilizer there, that is one of the primary uses of it. Now, it's also a very good bee and butterfly, hummingbird plant as well. It definitely attracts all of the good pollinators and insects. Definitely, I would say this is probably one of the best ones for doing it. In fact, just a few minutes ago, there had been some bumblebees hanging around in here while it was still sunny there. It does have some edible uses, at least as far as animals are concerned. So we do feed the leaves to our chickens, and the rabbits get them as well. And both of them really seem to enjoy eating those. The rabbits just go ahead and munch on the fresh leaves when I give it to them. And the chickens, we kind of chop it up and add that to some of their food, and everybody really enjoys eating them. So we use it as an animal feed as well. I do not know, as far as human consumption, anything about that. If anyone else does, I'd be open to hearing that information. And here, see the chickens? They like their Tithonia. Which is cool because they can be kind of picky about their vegetables sometimes, so I was happy when we figured out that this is something they do enjoy eating. All right, I'll let you girls have it. It also is a very easy plant to propagate, so very easily you can make cuttings from it. Just snipping it off at a certain point, strip off all the leaves, and then you could put it into a jar of water or take a bucket of soil and stick it in there and let it sit to get some roots, and then you'd have a nice new plant. But it also does spread very readily by seeds, as you can see on the, I think we're getting some right off here. So as the flowers die off and dry out, you will get seeds, and they will easily reseed themselves. For instance, once winter time comes around, which we're getting very close to that now, if you wanted to keep a plant for next spring, you could always take a cutting, put it in a pot, get it rooted there, and save it over for winter time in your greenhouse. If not, though, you can save seeds, keep them for spring and plant them then. Although if you let the seed heads fall off, it's very likely that they're going to reseed themselves somewhere, and you'll have the plants coming back completely on their own either way. So it's a neat plant, and it's very likely to make a comeback once the warm weather comes back around. But that being said too, it is very sensitive toward the cold, so obviously we're getting into that winter season now, so these guys aren't going to last too much longer where they are, but as I said, they come back easy, so we'll have them back by next year once the warm weather comes back around. And typically it is zones 9 to 11 that they say you can grow these in. Though when I was doing some research, and I don't know, you'd have to go further into that, I was finding there are different varieties of the Tithonia that apparently can withstand other temperatures. So some people were saying it spanned from zones 3 to 11. So there are obviously some different varieties that I'm not as aware of that can potentially be grown elsewhere. But typically speaking, even if you did, because they are more sensitive to the cold, they would be more annuals there. You would have to replant them the next year over. And the other thing I would say too is, along with the fact that they really need minimal care, because we would water them more heavily, say in the beginning when they were first growing, but oftentimes even during the summer they can withstand going with less water. So they really aren't very needy plants at all and can adapt to the hot weather. But the one thing I would say is, because they get so tall, and thing is these guys are pretty strong here, but I would say if you've got a lot of wind and storms, you probably would want to stake them up or trellis them, especially when they're smaller plants. That probably would help them, just so you don't get any breakage, and you can ensure the fact that the plants would get a lot bigger later. So that is one thing as far as their care I would recommend, because we have had that happen before in storms where they've just totally snapped, or because of the heavy top weight, they've even like pulled roots like right out of the ground just because they weren't rooted deeply enough. So that is just something else I would mention in the line of caring for these plants. So this guy here is the Tithonia rotundifolia. So this is a different variety, still in the same family, but a different type of the plant. And so as you can see, this one's got orange blooms, and these flowers are a little bit smaller than like the yellow ones. I mean, in general, this plant, he definitely didn't do as well this year as the diversifolias did. Now, this one is still different. I don't know, because we've heard conflicting things about the Tithonia. So this one, I do not know its edibility for the animals. I'm really not sure about that, so I have not given that to anybody. So again, we've mostly just used this one as a fertilizer for the other plants, and food for bees and butterflies and hummingbirds, which they definitely really like this variety as well. But I just wanted to show you this other type, because it still does have very beautiful colors, the flowers. So we like having this one as well. And this one also does the same thing. The seed heads drop off and we get a lot more, and it needs very little care. But anyway, so yes, the Tithonias are definitely one of our best loved plants as far as our permaculture gardening. So I encourage you to research more about these. Like I said, there's more varieties that may even be better for the area you're in if you are in a colder area. I would still say it's out of season for now because we are hitting winter even here in Florida, but I would definitely recommend trying it next year when springtime rolls around again.